What's the most justified time you've seen someone refuse to sign a counseling? Specialist Dalton Reed, best mechanic in our motor pool. 15 months at our base in Germany, never had a single issue. Quiet guy, showed up early, stayed late, fixed things other mechanics couldn't figure out. Our motor sergeant was this guy named Staff Sergeant Garrett Pruitt. New to the unit, transferred in from some desk job stateside. Didn't know engines from exhaust pipes, but loved paperwork and making himself look important. One Monday morning, Pruitt called Dalton into his office, slid a counseling statement across the desk. Sign this. Dalton read it. His face went pale. Sergeant, this says I didn't perform preventive maintenance on vehicle B47 last Thursday. That's why it broke down during the convoy. That's correct. Your negligence damaged government property. Sign the statement. I was standing outside the office. Heard every word. Watched Dalton's hands start shaking as he held that paper. Sergeant, I wasn't even here Thursday. I was on emergency leave. My sister had her baby 3 weeks early. You approved my leave yourself. Pruitt didn't even blink. The maintenance log shows you were assigned to that vehicle. It's your responsibility. But I have the leave form. You signed it. I was in Ohio that entire week. Sign the counseling or I'll add insubordination to it. That's when Dalton did something I'd never seen before. He set the paper down on the desk very carefully and said, "No, Sergeant, I'm not signing something that's factually incorrect." Pruitt's face turned bright red. Started yelling about respect and chain of command. How refusing to sign was the same as admitting guilt. Dalton stayed calm. The regulation says I have to be counseled. Doesn't say I have to agree with false information. I'm writing a rebuttal and taking this to the first sergeant. Pruitt threatened him with Article 15, extra duty, reduction in rank. Dalton didn't budge. Just asked for a copy of the counseling statement and walked out. Our first sergeant, a guy named Nolan Briggs, had been in for 22 years. Seen everything. When Dalton showed him the counseling statement, Briggs pulled up the duty roster. Reed was on approved emergency leave Thursday. Who was actually assigned to vehicle maintenance that day? Turned out Pruitt had assigned himself to cover Dalton's duties. Didn't do any of the work, just signed off on the maintenance logs like everything was completed. When the vehicle broke down, he blamed the guy who wasn't even there. Briggs called Pruitt into his office. I was working nearby, heard the whole thing through the thin walls. Briggs wasn't yelling, which somehow made it scarier. Just very calm, very direct questions. Sergeant Pruitt, did you perform the scheduled maintenance on vehicle B47? Long pause. I was busy with other administrative duties. So you falsified a government document by signing off on work you didn't complete, then blamed Specialist Reed for your failure? Another pause. I was going to do the maintenance later. The vehicle broke down because you skipped a critical oil change, cost the Army $12,000 in engine repairs, and you tried to blame a soldier who wasn't even in the country. Investigation lasted 3 days. They pulled every maintenance log Pruitt had signed in his 4 months at our unit. Found dozens of fake signatures, incomplete work, shortcuts that endangered soldiers. Turned out Pruitt had been skating by his entire career, passing off his responsibilities to junior enlisted, then taking credit when things went right and assigning blame when they didn't. The command conference happened Friday morning. Pruitt got relieved of his duties. Article 15 for dereliction and falsifying official documents, reduced to sergeant, transferred to some supply warehouse where he couldn't hurt anyone. Dalton got called into the commander's office. We all thought he might still get in trouble for refusing to sign. Military loves its paperwork more than truth sometimes. Commander had him stand at attention. Specialist Reed, you had the courage to stand up for what's right, even when facing pressure from a superior. That takes integrity. Handed him a coin. Not just any coin, the division commander's coin. Apparently the story had gone all the way up the chain. Your refusal to sign that counseling statement triggered an investigation that exposed serious leadership failures. You potentially saved lives. But here's the part that still gets me. 2 months later, vehicle B47 was assigned to a convoy in a training exercise. New motor sergeant had personally performed the maintenance Pruitt had skipped. That convoy got hit by another vehicle running a red light. Heavy collision. Vehicle B47 took the worst of it, but the engine held together. No catastrophic failure. Nobody died. Maintenance chief told us later that if Pruitt's shortcuts hadn't been caught, if that engine had been in the condition Pruitt left it, the collision would have caused total mechanical failure. The soldiers inside wouldn't have walked away. Dalton transferred to another base last year, got promoted to sergeant ahead of schedule. His NCO evaluation specifically mentioned his integrity under pressure. Pruitt got discharged after his contract ended. Last I heard, he's working at an oil change shop in Texas, finally doing the basic maintenance he couldn't be bothered with in the Army. I kept a copy of that original counseling statement Dalton refused to sign. It's taped to my locker as a reminder. Sometimes the most important thing you can do is say no to something wrong, even when everyone's telling you to just sign the paper and move on. That unsigned counseling statement saved more than Dalton's career. It might have saved lives.